Welcome to Culture Over Coffee, a podcast focused on improving company culture and fostering employee engagement. Every week, we chat with experts and thought leaders about the latest proven practices to reduce regrettable turnover, increase productivity, and retain key customers. So pour a cup of your favorite brew and join us. I'm your host, Beth Sunshine, SVP at Up Your Culture. Quick question. Could your employees recite your core values right now? Not recognize them, not vaguely describe them, but actually talk about them? Most companies have core values, but very few are actually aligned around those core values. If your people can't name your core values, let alone define them, they definitely can't live them. I want to give you a little context around this. Our Engage 2026 research dug into the factors tied to engagement at work. And once again, we were reminded of the importance of having core values that actually drive behavior. 89% of those surveyed say that their company has identified core values, but only about half actually know what they are. So that means that half of employees can't name the very principles that they're expected to live by. And when you break it down further, the gap gets even wider. We learned that 70% of C-suite executives can share their company's core values. But if you move down the org chart just a bit, only 40% of middle managers can do the same. When you step back, it actually may not be that surprising. Values are often misused as a marketing tool. They live on a wall in the lobby or on your website, or maybe they're in an employee onboarding deck, but they don't consistently show up in the day-to-day. They're not part of how decisions get made, for example. They're not part of feedback conversations. They're not part of accountability. And that's where things break down. From our research, core values are the structural code for how work gets done. So if they're not showing up in how work actually happens, they're basically just decoration. Let's look at where this tends to fall apart. I want to start with leaders. 73% of employees say that their leaders fail to model their core values. 73%. So what employees experience as a gap is huge. The values say one thing, but leadership behavior says something entirely different. And when that happens, credibility drops almost immediately because people don't follow what you say, they follow what you do. The second breakdown is in hiring and recognition. 76% said that leaders hire people who don't align with their values. And 77% said that their leaders don't consistently reward value-based behavior. So we're not hiring people who share our values or rewarding those who demonstrate them largely. What does that create? Well, mixed signals, inconsistent standards. People start to wonder what actually matters here. Because if values don't show up in hiring and recognition, they're not priorities. They're probably more preferences. And here's a really big one. 85% of employees say that leaders tolerate behaviors that do not align with their values. 85%. This is where we see culture really start to erode because high performers often get a pass in those situations. Accountability becomes optional and the values become pretty irrelevant. The fastest way to break your culture is to tolerate behaviors that contradict your values. There's another layer to all of this that is really important. Engage 2026 shows that 70% of executives know the company's core values, but only 40% of middle managers can say the same. And that's a problem because managers are the ones doing the day-to-day work of culture. They're coaching, they're hiring, they're the ones reinforcing expectations. So if the people responsible for reinforcing those values don't fully know them, consistency is almost impossible. And this isn't about memorization just for the sake of memorization. This is really about clarity. When people can clearly name your core values, they understand what the behaviors that are expected of them are. They know what good actually looks like, and that creates consistency. It gives people a shared lens for making decisions, and it creates accountability. It defines what gets rewarded, what gets corrected. When people can clearly name those values, they can actually use them. So, what do you do with all of this? If you already have authentic core values that truly define the behaviors that you expect very well, this isn't about rewriting your values. It's about using them. You have to move values from statements to systems. They need to show up in how you hire, how you evaluate performance, how you recognize your people, how you hold your people accountable. They have to show up everywhere. Managers need to be equipped to talk about them in real terms as well. They need to be able to give examples, reinforce them consistently. And they need to be simple enough that people can actually remember them. Because if people can't say them, they won't use them. Values don't stick because they're written well, because they're looking good on your lobby wall. They stick because they're used daily. They're discussed daily. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is most companies have core values, but very few actually operationalize them. And if your team can't name your values, your culture is being built on guesswork. So if you want to understand how core values and the other key drivers of engagement are really showing up across organizations today, check out the Engage 2026 Company Culture Report. It will give you a clear understanding of where companies are getting it right and where they're struggling with what to do next. Thanks so much for spending time with us on Culture Over Coffee. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe and join us for every episode. For more helpful information about company culture and employee engagement, visit us at upyourculture.com.